Did you know that the original 1609 quarto edition of Shakespeare's Sonnets holds secrets that could change your understanding of this work? See, the sonnets have been shrouded in mystery for over 400 years until I discovered the esoteric sources used by the poet. The footnotes in the sonnets are no different because they have been overlooked as mere pagination notes for the printer, though they have secret codes in them to show the sonnets are actually broken down into 16 parts instead of 4 or 5 parts as previously believed. Welcome to this episode of Secret Codes in the Footnotes of Shakespeare's Sonnets. I'm Peter Matthews. I first discovered there were secret codes in the sonnets when I forensically examined the first quarto, which I thought at first were a discrepancy in page footnotes, though it turned out to be intentional. This led me into years of forensic examination of page after page of various editions that resulted in quite some incredible findings. You see, it was commonplace in the early 17th century for printers to place a footnote of a word belonging to the first word on the following page, so that when collating copies for binding, it made their job so much easier. So let's get into it and let's have a look. On the left I have the sonnets, and on the right I have my reference guide that I'm going to run through both side by side so that you can see. Now, for example, down the bottom here we have sonnet 1, and just before there's 2 lines over the page, but we have B on the bottom here, and we have this. Now, if I go across the page, this is there. I'll go back. So this is the first word on that page, so that the printers would understand what it was. Now, B just means it's section B. So we'll keep going through this and go to the next one. We have and at the bottom, and we'll go over the page, and it begins with and. Notice this has gone to B2. Now what that means is prior to this page, in either sonnet 3, 4 or beginning of 5, there is a change, and I'll show you that here. You see this, the first 3 sonnets are about preparing to create the world. It's discussing the 2,000 years where God prepared, He planned our destiny, each and every one of them. He created Torah and so on. You see, these are the first 3. So the next section, it's like the Torah reading. It's broken up like that. So the next section, so section 4, which is sonnet 4, is the act of creation. That is why there is a break. But it's not a full break like other portions. Now we go to B2. You can see that's B2, and it's got like. We go across the page, like. There's nothing on this page. And we go there, 4, which is correct. And then we have B3. So why is this changing here? Well, that's the answer. This is actually not normally part of Be-Reshit. 12 and 13 are actually normally part of down here, of Mishpatim, the riddles of the Saba, and the gates of reincarnation. So that is why there is a code there. We continue, and or begins up here, and we have B4, and we keep going on, and this is the case until we get B4, and we got those on the next page, and then we have O on the bottom, and then we have C. So we know that prior to here, so somewhere in here, 18 or 19, there is a complete break between section C, B and C. And it just so happens over here we have the telling of Passover in Sonnet 19, and too far. And then we have Sonnet 20, which is on Lekh-Lekha. Now I think this is important to discuss this here, because in the Zohar it doesn't go from Be-Reshit to Lekh-Lekha. It goes from Be-Reshit to Noah, which is on the righteousness of men. You see, Emilia didn't use that because it's on the righteousness of men. Now, if William Shakespeare had written it, I am sure he would have used that portion because it discusses the incredible men throughout our history. So, why would she do that? Well, one is to lead us off the path as to if someone had picked up the first part, it was Be-Reshit from the Zohar Adash, but then it doesn't follow. You see, it took me several years to actually fathom where the book weaved this way and that way, and she'd go from that to the book of Numbers and backwards and forwards. But it was discussing the women of Torah, Bat Torah, the women of Torah. That's why. And you notice that I've got Salve Yitro Judaorum up here. That is because the exact same portions of the Zohar are the dedications to the 10 ladies in Salve Deus as to what we're studying right here. It's absolutely incredible. No one would believe me if I hadn't actually proved it. So now we're on section C, and that was O in the previous one, if you notice that, O, and then O at the top, and then this goes to 22, which just means that there's a new sonnet at the top. Unless there's something deeper that I haven't picked up, and maybe you might pick it up. See, I can only do so much. Now, I had hoped that other scholars and that students like would come along, grab my research and take it on and take it to the next level. That was the whole idea, because I'm getting older and my time is waning, and I know that in so many years' time I won't be able to do this. That's why I'm doing it now, to share all these secrets I've found over the last 25 years. So we have 2. And then we go to C2. So there's something that's changed in this period. Right? What do we find here? Well, that's the end of Lekh-Lekha on the book of life and the book of death. And then we go to Ve'ira. So this is it here. There's the difference right there. See? That's why I had to put them side by side so you can see. 2, 2. And at the bottom. And we got and then the next one's 2, but we've jumped to C3. So we know between there and here, it has to have a change. And we know that the change is right here from 30 to 31. And this is the keys to Christ the Messiah, to 31, beginning on the portion of Sarah. And Sarah guarding the gates of heaven, or that particular gate. It refers to one gate. And I'll get into that when we actually discuss the sonnet. So 2. Oh, hang on a minute. There we go. Well, there we go. There is a mistake. 2, and it's thou. So that is a clear mistake. And then we go to 34. That's interesting because she didn't actually write that, but yet she wrote 34 here. I'm not following my notes, by the way. I'm not looking at my book. That's why I'm running through it like this, so that I can look at it side by side for you. Now, 34 is a clear break because that's the marriage supper of the Lamb, and that goes to Toldot. So she has given it down here instead, and I think this was done on purpose because she's trying to lead people up the garden path, and then they think, oh no, that can't be right. Just as she did with, if somebody actually found the Zohar and they get into the book of Noah, they get about 2 or 3 sonnets in and they think, oh no, that doesn't work. She couldn't have written it on the... because that's why she's done it intentionally. It's extremely clever. And it's all about, because Jews were banned from England at the time. So we have, and that just goes 34, why, though, eternal, and then that. Now, we have an actual break right here at the end of this, which is D, changes to D. And here we are at the end of 41, going into 42. Here we are, 41 to 42. And there is a break there from Vayetzi through to Be-Midbar. Now, of course, this is on the book of Numbers, and that's what I was saying. She changes on purpose. So, thy, and then how. And then we go to D2. So we know there's some sort of break in this period here. 45, 46, 47, somewhere around there. So D2 and mine, and 46. So, and what have we got? We've got Ephraim and Manasseh is the last one, and then 47 begins with the book of Exodus or Shemot. And most is our one at the bottom, most. And then we have, yep, D3. There is a division between 46, say, this section here, and here, in this portion here somewhere. And we go into D3. Where's our next one? That goes into E. Okay, so we know that's the next one. So it has to be back here. So somewhere in this period, we have another break, which actually is at the end of this page, because that's the end of 53. And we have more, and since. Now, 53, and then we go into 54 on Miriam's well, and then that is our break on Miriam's well. And then 55 goes into the face of Bo, because this, the face of Bo, is the face of God that destroyed the Egyptians. So then we come into 57, 56, 57, that, and then crawls. And as we see, we're in book E already, and that change has occurred here again on sonnet 58, 59 in this portion here. And that is La Avisa, which is from Willoughby Hisavisa, connecting to that. And then this is Adonai Ish Elohim on 59. So we have crawls up the top. Self, and we notice there's an E2. So somewhere around here there's a change. but it doesn't appear to be a major change to change it to F, for example. So it's a bit like in Be-Reshit. And now we are on Be-Shallah through here. Now this portion here is interesting because in 65 there is a minor change here, because this is on 65 is on the Mishnah. Very interesting. And then we continue with Be-Shallah. Y, E3. Oh, gone too far. Now, it says there's another break around 69, which is correct because this brings in another portion entirely. Heikhalot Pequdei. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, it's a heck of a word. But it's about the halls of judgment and the halls of mercy, or the chamber of judgment and the chamber of mercy, to which we are judged when we pass. So that is at this point here at the end of 69. And then we go into 70, that, and then 2. We start again with 2. Nothing on the bottom of that page. Here, and then it reverts back to Be-Shallah for the rest of it through to about 81. We have F here, and then we have nothing on this page, I grant, but we go over the page and we have F2. So something happened on this previous page or early on this page, which is the break at the end of page 81, which is where we change to the book of Yitro, or Jethro in English. So that is why we have all these notes here. It's got nothing to do. They don't actually work as printing notes. Certainly these do, where it says I grant, which goes over I grant so they can follow. But this F2, if you actually calculate them out, you find that they do not work to fold the paper. They are chapter sections. They've been done intentionally as secret codes so that we could understand that these are Zoharic portions. And this blows everything away that we've learnt today. So, we are down to Yitro. I was going into there. I was up the top. Now F3. Now why have we got this here at this portion between, say, 87 and 85? Well, that is because at Sonnet 85 we have an insert of Tosefta, or addendums to the Zohar. Beautiful section, actually. It's magnificent. Now, I'll continue. We have thee, which actually that's an interesting one. Thee. Yeah, I'm not following my notes, as I've said. And we have speak. And that might be another secret code I haven't even looked at yet. I haven't looked over to my notes, so you can have a look at it. Maybe you'll come up with something even better than me. So we'll continue down in the book of Yitro. This just mentions 94 across the page, which is 94, and then thee, which is up the top, thee, and then we have G. Now, why would 98 be there? Oh, 98. Because it has a very specific portion right there. It has a few actually, but right around here we have the sweetened rose. And this is referring, it's not referring to Israel in this case, it's referring to the Hashmalim, the creatures. It's incredible. We have the 613 Jewish mitzvah and the black fire upon white fire. That's what the imagery is. It's a Zoharic imagery. Wait till I get to it. It's incredible. Sonnet 98, I am YHVH Your God. Now there's something in there that's worth noting, but I won't mention it just yet. So we go over to the page and we have drawn, as you can see, and then 4, and then 4 up the top, and now we have the G2, and this is because we go into Ki-Tissa from the book of Exodus, which is where up the top, and that's where we start at the end of 105. So 106, and she could have particularly been talking about, because this portion in these areas here is the incredible stone tablets on Mount Sinai, and that I'm going to reveal a little bit of it. This is the Mount Sinai experience, and then this is the golden calf. It's quite a difficult portion to navigate, this one, so I'm not going to say too much more about it, because it needs to be explained in context at the time. It's a very, very deep portion. Now, G3, of course, is the end of the weights and not dust from Ki-Tissa, which we should, by rights, have a break in here. Why don't we see it? That's because we do. Right here. They're not always exactly on, because they've got to be paginated. So that is why we have this next section, which is Terumah, which starts from 15. That is not 119, it's 116. So that is why that is the previous portion, and that is the new portion. And as you can see, it's still within that anyway. Now, H and 118, that is because 118 starts the next page. And then H2. Now, I have not finished this section yet, so I honestly can't tell you. I've written to here, so I can't tell you what Sonnet 122 is fully about, because I haven't written it. This is, as I said, a draft working reference guide. I hope to finish it in my time, but if I don't, I don't. Somebody else is going to have to pick it up for me. And then we go over the page and come into, there's no more notes here, and then we come into this wonderful portion of 126. Now, 126 is very important, and we have a definite break between 126 and 127, and we have 2 italicized brackets. There is a reason for this break, far beyond the obvious change to the Dark Lady sonnets, and this is because of Zohar al-Shir HaShirim, or Zohar on Song of Songs, because there is a secret code in the verse, you will bring them in and plant them on your mountain, the place, O Lord, reserved for your own dwelling, the sanctuary, O Lord, that your hands have established. Exodus 15, verse 17. Whilst most biblical scholars translate this as YHVH. Both Emilia and Rabbi Isaiah Bassano of Venice taught that there were 4 different Aramaic dialects, and the Zohar was pure, whereby they translate this passage as Adonai, that your hands establish koninu. Thus the sanctuary will be built on the foundations of Ki-Tissa. The numeric value of koninu is 126, the end of Sonnet 126. That is why at the junction of this change, Emilia used 2 brackets to depict koninu, or the number 126, and the upper sanctuary of her people, the Israelites, just as she used TT to refer to the Shin that I presented in a previous episode to reflect the number 300, which in turn reflects the upper chariot and the divine name Elohim, a triune God as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Sefer Yeritza reveals Shin is associated with the left side of the tree of life, whereas it connects to Chokmah and Binah in the element plane of fire. Thus it forecasts in the future a time of judgment to come. So we understand what this means, but I'll have to elaborate on this as we get into the Dark Lady sonnets. It was intentional. That's really what you need to know, and that there were specific keys from the Hebrew and Aramaic that were used to show these things. But we'll continue on. Now we have H3 for that section, and therefore we go across the page, therefore and my, and I'll go down a bit. Now, we don't have anything, no other footnotes. We have one somewhere around about 137 where we have a change. So between 137 and that's is, here we go, to, it says down here. So we think it's around 141 or somewhere around there, but it's actually 143, which is across the page. Whether that was an error by the printer or whether I haven't got this correct, I'm not sure, but I believe I have, because I have mapped this out completely, the Dark Lady sonnets through here. But I won't know until it's completely finished. But there's definitely on the anointing oil and the Jewish festivals, this section 144 to 147. So that's where we are here. And we're about to change again already. 146 to 147, so it's in here. And that is correct because we have Rosh Hashanah at the end of 147, which is here. So I'll go down a bit. Now, then we have do, but, which there is, that's interesting. I hadn't picked that up before. There is no mark, possibly because it's an addendum to Tetsavveh, through here, because the Tetsavveh finishes at Rosh Hashanah 147 here. And then this is Tosefta from 148 onwards. Now, that all that means is addendum, so maybe she didn't annex this because it is an addendum. I am not sure, but we'll never know. And then we go right through to the finish. And then K.A. Now, what does that mean? I wonder. Well, maybe I should leave that wonderful little treat until we get there. I encourage you to share your thoughts on this episode. And if there's anything in particular you want me to cover, please mention it below. Now, this may be, I'm not sure yet, this may be my final episode on the introduction to the sonnets. My next episode may well be Sonnet 1. So look out for that, because that is going to be a wonderful but very deep episode that will introduce us to the sonnets. Thank you very much. Please subscribe and bless you heaps.